You are, it seems, a man of many skills. A rare combination.
Today we are talking about the state of football gaming as it is right now. And the funny thing is, this is the perfect time to do it, being as the Madden 24 beta is going to be coming out soon if it hasn't already. I didn't sign up for it in time. I almost never know for some reason, despite all the people that I happen to follow on Twitter. I never seem to know when the hell to sign up for a beta. And even when I do, usually it falls around a weekend or something in which I might work. So I can't always tell, how the latest iteration of that game might be. Besides Madden, there are others in the marketplace. Games like Maximum Football, who should be releasing a beta early access later in the year, probably more like late summer, early fall. Legend Bowl has been out for a couple of years, though as of the recording of this, we're still waiting to know what they're going to do console-wise. It has been on PC for 2 years. Legend Bowl is made by the exact same creator, King Havo, who I'd actually love to have on the podcast. I ain't gonna lie. The release date of that is unknown, and it should build off the foundations of Legend Bowl, which I've seen some content creators play. One of them being FG, aka Franchise Gaming. I don't remember the last time he's done a stream with Legend Bowl, but it looks fun. Maybe if it comes to console, I'll probably play it. If you don't already know, this is the Franchise Ain't Dead podcast from State of the Franchise Gaming. I am Ramel, aka Ramel, probably the only franchise podcast, a franchise sports podcast in the entire world at this point. I'll also touch on career modes at some point in time. Maybe as we get a little closer to finding out the information from Madden 24, I'll touch on that. Also in the marketplace, we've got Sunday Rivals, which has been out for over a year. It seems to be a pretty solid game. Again, a lot of these I haven't played or I don't know a ton of or know a ton about, but from watching, you can usually tell the quality of a game. Usually. Varsity High School Football, which is a game created by Modus / Pyramid Games. I will leave links to either videos or links to websites that you can actually read up on information about these. Varsity High School Football, honestly, is the one game I know the most about because I've been a Patreon supporter for over a year, almost a year and a half. So I know a decent amount about that. I will tell you what I'm allowed to tell you and nothing more. And if you follow me on Twitter, you can probably find out more because I usually retweet damn near everything they put out. I think that's going to be a sleeper game that a lot of people may not be privy on. They may not be looking out for, but I think that is such a unique experience because I have coached high school football that I think I know for a fact I'll be playing it because that's close to heart and that is, just something I care about. Lastly, we'll talk about probably the most slept on of all of the football games out there, NFL 2K. And it's only really sleep because we've heard very little in the past 2 years since they have acquired the NFL license to use logos and assets and players, but not utilize quote unquote a simulation game style, whatever that may be. Hell, we'll start there. 2K honestly has stated that they have been working on their engine in which they used in their last football game every year. They said they've been updating it. They've stated they got it at its peak, but see nothing. We see nothing. There's no trailer, no nothing. Maybe they're going to shadow drop a game out of nowhere, though I don't think the NFL will like that. I'm sure they'll want some marketing behind it. I would think the gameplay or the style would be very, maybe not totally arcadey, but think Super Mega Baseball. It's got some elements. It might be arcadey in its presentation or in its visuals from the player standpoint, which I think it'd be perfectly fine. Super Mega Baseball is probably the best franchise game out, with NBA 2K being right there, if not ahead of it. You can pick either which one it might be as far as preference, because I know more people play 2K than a baseball game. I'm one of the weirdos that will play both. Legend Bowl has been out the longest. King Havo on Twitter has mentioned, he's also even mentioned in YouTube videos, that the game should be coming to console, but because of all the certification and all the crap and hoops that you gotta jump through in order to get a, I guess I want to say, unestablished game onto consoles, PS5, Xbox, Nintendo. There's a lot of testing and stuff that those companies are not just going to let any old developer go out there and just make a game and throw it on their system. It could be garbage. Legend Bowl will not and is not one of those games. It is a very fun game from what I've seen. Very old school. While the visual of the players is pixelated, you can customize, player looks and logos and stuff like that. I think you can customize the stadium. You can customize, there's a lot of customizable stuff. You can customize how, that is one of the big things from a lot of the indie community. Again, Legend Bowl, Maximum, Varsity High School Football. You'll get all of those. They just give you a plethora of things in which you can mix and mold to make it your own league. One game I forgot to mention is Axis Football. I don't know how I keep forgetting that game. It's also been out for a couple years. I believe it released in about November-ish. Looks like a very solid game. It might seem a little stiff. I mean, you're gonna get that for the most part with the indie games, but they are making efforts. There are games out here to play besides the big kahuna, besides Madden. And I actually hate calling him Madden because I don't feel like they have exactly done right by that man's name, given his passing about 6 months ago. Hell, they haven't done that since well before he passed. It's probably something in contract languaging that, they're just allowed to use his name, even if he hasn't had a ton of input or any input at all, whether that's a health-wise thing or he just ain't interested like that. He's, the money is good. The game makes billions. I'm sure he makes some kind of millions, even if he, didn't have the involvement. And I'm very sure the money that they make, that the family makes every year goes to the estate, and, they're living fine. One thing I will ask you guys out there, not because it helps me in any way. I don't have no affiliation other than being a patron for one of these games, and I was a patron for another, that being Maximum Football. Support creators, support some of these indie devs. A lot of these games don't cost much and haven't cost much. Test them out before you sit there and crap on them and say, hey, this game is garbage. This game is just not up to snuff. It's not what I want. I mean, it's your money. Like I've told you in a previous podcast, you do what you want with it. If you feel like your money is best served going to EA, pre-order, going out and buying it, whatever digital store or GameStop or Walmart or wherever you may be, I don't know. That's your prerogative. I can't stop you. I know a decent amount of people that they won't buy said sport game new. They will buy it used, because they know the money's not going directly to EA by any stretch of the imagination. So that money's not in their coffers to jack up the game as they've done to a decent amount of the franchise and career mode community. Even if EA Football is making a comeback, or in their own words, via marketing, they've stated they've added some new things. There are some major problems with Madden, like the past several years. Quarterbacks don't scramble, or they don't seem to scramble, and when they do in simulation, there are guys like the typical usual suspects when it comes to who's scrambling and taking off. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, though Fields just got to the league, Josh Allen. There are a decent amount of guys who just aren't running for that many yards. They might get a couple hundred here or there. Nobody is threatening Lamar Jackson's record. Nobody's threatening Michael Vick, who both went over 1,000 yards in a season. If you play yourself, Yeah, you could do that. You could easily be 1,000, not easily, but depending on the quarterback, you could get 1,000 yards. It's not that crazy. But I know that's an issue for a decent amount of people, especially those that go out there and simulate, or they may watch CPU games. My biggest issue, and this even kind of goes back to, the PS2 era Madden's trench play, specifically the offensive line. They don't play in a, I guess, cohesive fashion. I'm not expecting perfect pocket to form every time, but the offensive lineman awareness as to who they block seems to be very static and is not very dynamic. I've also seen many an issue where the entire offensive line will pancake a bunch of guys in the front seven, and it's just like, the odds of this happening are extremely unlikely. Like, there doesn't seem to be much weight and or momentum. Actually, there's probably plenty of momentum. It's like guys just get ragdolled around, even with whatever step-by-step technology they put in a game doesn't really translate to two forces coming together. The tug, there's not a bunch of that. I don't see there's some fight back and forth between offensive and defensive linemen, but it doesn't feel legit. I've seen in the Madden 24 trailer, it's the part where Patrick Mahomes does that sidearm throw thing, which hopefully that's not something you can pull off just willy-nilly, but the edge rusher is coming on the outside. Mahomes is scrambling. And said edge rusher, don't know who he is, looked like a Bronco. Actually, maybe it wasn't the Bronco. I think it was a Raider. It doesn't matter. The point is, the tight end let the edge rusher come through. The tight end had to go turn all the way around to block him. And it's just like, that's not, yes. Do offensive linemen turn back to block somebody? Yes. They're not going to whip all the way around to do so. Like, it looked ridiculous. In fact, I'll even show it on screen if you're watching this on YouTube. I do implore any and all of you that are listening to this podcast, do subscribe to the YouTube channel, just because I do and will throw visuals on screen so that my point can be shown, because I don't always feel like I can explain it the best. Varsity high school football, again, is the one game that I know the most about because I've spoken to the devs myself as a member of the Patreon group, because I pay to get this information. I'm going to give you what information I do know and I'm allowed to state. I may not give it to you word for word, but I will at least, I'll give it to you. I'll just give it to you. Here we go. People for years who've played Madden have complained that, you can't create a stadium. You can do that in varsity high school football. As a matter of fact, it looks pretty damn similar to MLB The Show's Stadium Creator, in the sense that there are and will be a lot of different assets that you can customize, and unlike MLB The Show, you can upgrade those pieces of said facility in order to maybe attract better players and stuff like that, because there is some element of recruiting in high school. You're usually recruiting the schools in your district, unless rules state otherwise. Not sure if they'll do anything as a difference between a public school and a parochial school, or a public school and a charter school. I mean, they're going to follow pretty close to the, what is it called? I believe it's the National High School. I have the emails again. I still get the emails as I was a coach. As far as rule changes and stuff like that, those kind of things will be in the game, and it will vary from state to state, and even like conference by conference, depending on, again, where you are. A lot of the schools, not even a lot of schools, none of the schools will be real. None of the players will be real. I'm just going to throw that out there now, because a lot of people have and will continue to ask, are they real players? No, they're not going to be able to get the likenesses of any high school athlete without parental permission, and with 40,000 schools in which you can eventually play in or play with. Imagine the logistical issues with that. It's never going to happen. The dynasty mode as a whole will work basically as think coaching carousel in NCAA. Granted, high school is completely different. As you know, you'll start with the training camp. You'll go to the season. There'll be off-season stuff as far as if high school players play other sports. That'll affect some things positively, some things negatively. That's all I can say. And then 7-on-7, because 7-on-7 has apparently become a sport in of itself, which I think is a little ridiculous, but it is what it is. As far as development stuff, they'll have customizable helmets. Again, customization is a really big thing for the indie devs in any game, because if you're not going to have the real players, which usually can sell a game, you've got to be able to give people the tools to make a league of their own, make a conference of their own, make a team, all that stuff. Players of their own, whatever it may be. And I really feel varsity football is doing that. Again, I've got special access, but that's just because it's because I pay for it. If you've been on my YouTube channel and you've seen one of my actually more popular videos, it's got like 1,000 or so views, maybe a little more than that. You know that I've had an issue in the show as far as two-way players. You put Shohei Ohtani on the 2022 game, and two-way players didn't work how it is supposed to. Granted, the CBA had just been finalized a week before the game came out. Could they have patched something in? I don't know. I'm not a dev. I'm not going to crap on them for not putting that in. I mean, I kind of did, but I didn't go full bore on them. In 2020, actually, the funny thing is, with the Ohtani thing, I did a rebuild. It was the Los Angeles Angels, actually my most popular video. And via a glitch, something I didn't do myself, Shohei Ohtani actually pitched in a World Series game and hit in a World Series game, which was very strange because, the Ohtani rule was not in 2023. They've stated they've done better because that glitch has been essentially carried over into 23. I think I've seen some issues with it as far as if Ohtani is hurt, a pitcher ends up going in the DH spot. You don't really want a pitcher DHing because 99.9% of them cannot hit. Not the point. How this flows into varsity high school football is the fact that if you have played high school football, you know that guys can be Iron Men or Iron Women. There are girls out there that do play football. Let's not act like it's not a thing. Nick Mangold's sister is known to have played football. And actually, she looked pretty good as a football player. I ain't gonna lie. I think she was an offensive lineman just like her, I'm going to say, Jets Hall of Fame brother. I think Mangold is a Hall of Famer, but that's got nothing to do with this podcast. Depending on where you are in the nation or your district, you may end up as a coach of a team that only has 20, 30 players, and guys have to play both sides of the ball. I know because I had to coach at a school that had players that played both sides. Actually, we had a couple of guys that literally never came off the field. Our running back was our punter, and he was our linebacker. And yeah, that boy never got off the field. It's a little nuts. It's a damn shame we lost him to an appendix injury, right before the season started. So we spent most of the year without him. We didn't win a game. Fun fact, of any teams that I have coached, we have never won a game. I don't care because I wasn't getting paid to win. I wanted the players to go out there and play the best that they could with what talent they had and, the instruction that I've given them. But in varsity high school football, the depth charts can be set as far as you can move guys around as you need to, so that you put players in the best position for you to win. So if you're starting middle linebacker, which actually that running back I forgot was a linebacker too. I think I might have mentioned that. Yeah, he's a linebacker. He could have played quarterback. I'm actually a little surprised we didn't run him at quarterback, but then again, we probably would have ran him ragged, being as we had a 25-man roster. It was, oh boy. Like, we actually had to forfeit a game because we did not have enough players. Unfortunately, it was against our in-county rival, but it is what it is. As mentioned earlier with the stadium, there is management of the maintenance of the field, score box, or scoreboards, stands, bleachers, that kind of thing, which can and will affect attendance and revenue generated. It'll affect injuries. If you're looking for a football game out there that has depth to it, has immersion to it, makes you give a damn about it, I'm telling you, the indies are going to do it for you. Granted, there are dev companies like Sony San Diego has at points and time been able to nail said little things that a lot of people may not think of. They give a damn about the nuance, which I believe was the first true episode in this where I mentioned nuance is very important. If you want me to care, you have to give me some things to care about. Also, another thing that you should see in varsity high school football is no two experiences are going to be the same. I live in the state of New York. New York is, while we've had some pro football players, one of which I've actually met at a past job. He came in, I worked at a hotel. He came in, I recognized his name. I'm like, you look familiar. New York is mostly a basketball state. Let's just keep it 100. Most of that has to do with New York City and Syracuse and regions not too far from either of those places. A place like Texas is obviously known for football. Florida is known for really all three major sports, baseball, basketball, and football. A lot of athletes come from that state. So I would expect Florida football to be difficult. I would expect California football to be difficult, depending on the, maybe not the district, the region. Oh man, I'm forgetting the vocabulary of what it's supposed to be, but yeah, depending on where you coach, depending on how big of a school you got to go up against, you may end up with some really difficult teams to play against. Everybody would be stacked. Maybe not your school. Texas, clearly you'll be playing in semi-pro / professional looking type stadiums every damn Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, Saturday night. You get the gist. And again, that plays into the coaching carousel. You can go to another state and things will be different there. You can go to another town. You can stay in the same district and things will be different just because this school operates different than this school. The nuance, those are the little things that are going to get players to continue playing. And Madden has tried. Madden has been all successful. Ratings are going to matter, or at least they should matter. In varsity, listen, in high school, there are the haves and the have-nots. There are very few that have. There are a decent amount of players where they could be average. They just need to be coached up. And if you coach them up right, they can be solid players. Backups on D1, really not so much. Backups on some D1 teams, D2, D3. That doesn't necessarily have to do with talent all the time. As I went to a D3 school for college and know a couple guys that have went to D1, it is day and night how things operate there. Now, this is not a part of varsity high school football. You won't be able to, as far as I know, you won't be able to have players move on to college and continue to play. As far as I know, even if Maximum Football deals with college and the same developer actually houses both of these, both Maximum and varsity high school football, if they somehow, some way came together, they haven't, because literally part of the dev team from varsity high school football is a branch. They broke apart from the Maximum football team and they've created a different game, which honestly, I think it'll be great for both games. Both games will have their own lane. Both teams might look a little different, but I think they'll both be fun. when they release, either late this year or sometime next year. Maximum has stated they want to put their game out this year after they've gotten feedback from the beta. Hopefully it's positive. I'm going to be a part of it. If I can put that information out there in terms of an open beta, open early access, I will do so. So subscribe to State of the Franchise Gaming on YouTube. I am going to try to put this podcast out every week, at minimum once a week, and you might get a second one later in the week, but don't quote me on that. I'll let y'all later.